Hey, yeah, we going big, going big. We going big, going big. We going big, going big. Don't trip, gotta get it how you live, hey, yeah.
Welcome to the Let's Think About It podcast, where high achievers stop performing and start transforming. I'm Coach Mo, certified core energy leadership coach, founder of the Inner Arena and creator of the SWAG framework. Self-awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. Around here, we train your mindset, challenge your limits, and turn pressure into purpose. Subscribe now and join me on YouTube at Swag Coaching. So let's get your reps in.
We going big, going big. We going big, going big. We going big, going big. Don't trip, gotta get it how you.
Welcome to another episode of the Let's Think About It podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mo, and I'm here with another amazing guest, and her name is Joyce Addison. Joyce, my sister, how you doing?
I am doing great, and it's so fabulous to be here with you, Mo. And for those listening, my name is Joyce Addison, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because you have all of this wisdom that I want to try to tap into. And I know I can't get into all of it, but I want to just scratch the surface a little bit. But before we do that, where are you checking in from?
I am checking in from Winnipeg, Central Canada. We are in Manitoba. So, for those of you who don't know where Canada is, it's over here where the big white whale freezing. And so, Manitoba is actually next to Ontario. We're neighboring Ontario. So, if you've heard of Toronto, Ottawa, that's in this Manitoba. As you go east from Ontario, you go west from Ontario, this Manitoba. And that's where I'm located.
And I'm assuming it's really cold right now there.
This morning when I went out for my walk, it was -9. But I go out and the
I
sun
would
was
say
shining,
that's pretty cold.
and the sun was shining, and that's Celsius. And we go out even when it's 40 below. We go out, we bundle up, and we go out to walk. That's Manitobans. We're always trying to stay active, and we get a lot of sunlight, so it makes it a lot easier too.
That's great. That's great. Tell my audience who you are, what you do, and the type of value that you bring.
As I said, my work is focused on helping organizations to deal with team resilience. We're looking at team conflict, team burnout, and team psychological safety and performance. So if you're looking to understand why you have conflict in your team, if you're looking to find out why you as a leader aren't connecting as well as you do with your team, if you're wondering why your team members aren't getting along and working or their performance is dropping, then we are the people you talk to here at Interpersonal Wellness Services. We've been doing this for 28 years. I started out more as a conflict analyst. And I remember I did my bachelor in conflict resolution, and then I went back to do a master's in conflict analysis and management, and then started doing coaching all the way to a master certified coach. And what kept driving me was how people were showing up when conflict happened. It's you really don't know who someone is until they're in conflict. Until there is a conflict.
Absolutely, I agree. Yes, no doubt, no doubt.
You really don't know who someone is until there is a conflict. Because when conflict happens, most people go either fight or flight. And what we do, what I started noticing is depending on how well people are, meaning how grounded they are in who they are, how much they know themselves, their beliefs, their values, their system of who they are and who they think they need to be, their whole idea of who they're intended to be on this planet, their response is different. And I wanted to create a way for my clients to see what was happening because I started out doing divorce mediation. It was too much for me. It was intense because there are two places where conflict becomes most intense is divorce in relationships and at work. Because we spend more time with people in those areas of our lives. They know us better, they know our triggers, we spend longer amount of time with them. And so after doing divorce mediation for a while, I moved into workplace conflict management, and I saw the same thing happening. It was when I was in divorce mediation back in the late 90s that I started to create what I call the pre-mediation coaching framework. And that took off and created now where all mediations are done with a pre-coaching element to it. And as I went into the workplace, I started to see more employees showing up. And because I was working with government, larger organizations, I would see that this person was transferred from one department to the other, but they're
Right.
now over there creating conflict. It's like,
Yep.
so this person becomes the common denominator in the conflict. And I was just perturbed. I was like, there needs to be a way to understand what was going on. And I came up with the 9-dimensional framework. And then I call it the wellness improvement system for lack of a better word. And now we just call it WIS, the Wellbeing Intelligence System. And I started to help my clients to how well they're doing spiritually, socially, emotionally, occupationally, intellectually, environmentally, financially, physically, and interpersonally. And in the interpersonal, we know that everything we do in our lives is going to have an interpersonal interconnection, meaning that when I'm upset, you're going to see it on my face and you're going to be like, oh, Joyce, what's going on? That's an interpersonal interaction. If I'm happy, you're going to see me excited, like, Joyce, hey, girl, what's going on? And the same, if I'm miserable, whatever I'm experiencing, there's going to be an interpersonal element to it because humans are social beings.
Yes.
So I wanted to create that awareness for my clients. It's not about me knowing that, as we know as coaches, it's about the client having that awareness. So
Yes.
they know what they can change in their life and what they can shift. And after doing the 9 dimensions, I started talking. I would teach, I would train, I would talk to clients about it. And they're like, well, Joyce, how do we improve it? What do we do? So I started adding elements. So what makes up these areas? And within each dimension, I identified just 20 into my model because I needed to keep it visual. And then clients would show. I remember doing work with one of the larger Chrome Corporation, and she would say to me, they need your wellness coaching. I think that's what my employees need. And that gave birth to a whole new phenomena in my work because these employees would come and they would say, Joyce, I don't like my numbers. Back then I had them working from a little workbook and it was called the Interpersonal Wellness System, Improve Your Interpersonal Intelligence. And it was a coaching toolkit and the 9 dimensions. And they would come in, and this is actually available on Amazon too. And it's really a workbook that they get to do exercises within the 9 dimensions of their life. And it was so amazing because they would tell me, Joyce, I don't like my numbers. I don't like my numbers. How do I change it? And I was like, these are the same people I gave Myers-Briggs to do when they argue that
Yeah.
it wasn't a reflection of them, right? I'm putting them through style profile for communicating. They're like, oh, those questions were not relevant. And I just answered we're off. And I don't believe in that assessment. But here I'm giving them a self-assessment about themselves and how they're behaving and how they're showing up. And their first response was they don't like their numbers.
Right.
How can they fix it and improve it? So I started to realize that what we were doing is giving them a quantifiable number for how they're showing up, how they're using their energy, how they're focusing. And it created the entire framework for the currency of resilience and the resilience framework that we use right now, our resilience intelligence platform. So we've taken all of this and we've digitalized it. We've created our own SaaS platform where they can actually go in. And it's interesting when I'm in there, and in there, of course, we created our own, I'm a coach. So we've created a full coaching platform where they get to sign, they do the assessment, then they go right into coaching, and we break down where they're going. And clients tell me, oh, I didn't know that about myself. And that is the beauty of it, because each team member gets an entire full report that shows them the skills that they need. Because what we used to do before, we would go in and we would do team building and we would do trust building and we would do, but people didn't know where they are on those areas.
Right.
I don't understand my level of trustability, and do I trust others? Am I trustworthy? And so we've been able to identify there's some core resilience anchors, things like belief in yourself, your self-esteem, your passion, your vision, things like trust, integrity, hope, values, purpose, vision,
Right.
that oh nobody talks about, right? We talk about
Right.
team spirit, but team spirit is up there. It's not
Right.
tangible. So we've been able to make this tangible where employees are able to go in and every member of the team gets a full resilience index that shows them all the activities they're doing, how they're showing up, how well they're doing, and it gives them a resilience index score that they get to see and identify how well they're doing. And they're like, oh, I need to change that about myself. This is something I need to work on. And this is the part that always thrills me is them telling me what they need to work on. Because that's
Right.
where we want to be as a coach, right? We want the clients to be leading the process.
Right.
And here we are, and they're leading it. They're taking on that autonomy. They're able to see all these areas of their life visually, go in, measure how well they're doing, and then get a result, and then say, I want to fix this. Let's create some action plans to help me make this better. I have a happy day every day.
Your framework that you put together is amazing for organizations to tap into. I want to go a little bit deeper, right? Because you also mentioned resilience. And I work with a lot of leaders in this environment who needs that resilience because they're in this changing environment. They're trying to lead under pressure, right? When leading under pressure, there's not no consciousness involved in that. They're on this autopilot mode that their inner critic is naturally telling them, if you slow down, you'll be viewed as weak or you can't keep up. And whatever that narrative is that's coercing their thinking that they got to keep pressing forward and not taking a reset to create self-awareness in which when they do reset, it rejuvenates them so that they can continue to move forward. But somewhere down the line, they carry this narrative in which I always talk about the punk ass inner critic. They carry that narrative that I can't slow down. I have to keep pressing through because my superiors, ROI, whatever is dependent on me personally to produce these numbers. So my question to you, with the WIS program system framework that you have, how do you get in the door to initially create that awareness so that they can even buy into the WIS program?
I don't do anything to them. I love this question because clients would show up. My boss, my workplace sent me here. What are you going to do with me? I was like, absolutely nothing. That's not my job to do anything with you. All I do is give you an invitation to look at yourself. And that's why our model is 9-dimensional. It's visual.
Yeah.
People don't even read anymore. So it's visual and it's broken down into categories. You
Okay.
can only look at how you're doing. When I started designing this model in the early 2000s, I was terrified because spiritual came up as one of the dimensions. I was like, I can't go to corporate Canada and little brown woman talk about spiritual. They're going to shoo me off. And even when I shift my corporate name, a client stopped calling. And I started to go back and chat with them and talk with them. And that's where we do most of our work. Injuries is part of that spiritual part of you. Those are those things that we can't see, but they are what makes us move, makes the world go around, makes
Right.
us happy. That's where our soul lives and feeds. So I just invite them. Why don't you just go and see how you're doing?
Right.
I don't have to preach. I don't have to do anything. Just say, why don't you see how well you're doing in these areas of your life? And they continue with the conversation because when they do an honest look at themselves, they're like, because I started out in conflict resolution, when I started this process, I would see the employees that nobody wants to work with. They're 1 foot out the door to being fired, and this is their last resort. And these employees were turning around and now are promoted in their organization, moving on to management, taking on leadership role. And they would tell me stuff like, Joyce, why didn't anybody tell me this before? I am 45 years old and I never learned these things. Yeah, they're like,
Right.
why isn't this taught? And then I would have really disgruntled employees who would show up and they're like, Joyce, are you sure my organization is going to pay you for me to, this is all about me. This is about me and my life. Are you
Right.
sure they know what you're teaching us and what you're doing?
Right.
Yeah, they do. They know my model. Maybe they're not that bad to work for that. All of a sudden it's a switch, because what do humans like? Me, myself, and I. I'm important. I'm valued. You care about me. That's what employees want. And
Right.
so our clients who are working with us, the employees are having different kinds of conversations and thought processes. And they will call me and say, Joyce, who is this person you sent back here? Because we like this one. You can keep the other one we sent working with you. I was like, I didn't do anything. They did all
Right.
their, because we need to give people frameworks that they can work with, that makes sense to them.
Yeah,
Simple,
and
easy.
that's what made me generate and create my SWAG framework: self-awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. And I think that's like very simple. Just the word swag, right? Your swag is off. And I teach clients this because in those moments when you feel discouraged, when you feel worried, when you feel triggered, when you feel upset, when you feel fear, right? You're off of your swag. And what I mean by that is that level of self-awareness takes a dip in that moment, and you're not conscious around what that inner critic is telling you. And in those moments of fear or doubt, right, that inner critic may be very loud and coercing you to think that you're not good enough in that moment. And when you're feeling you're not good enough in that moment, guess what? Your values take a dip as well. You lose sight of what that purpose is. And because you lose sight of what that purpose is, you're not in alignment with certain actions that you need to take so that you can elevate yourself. And because of that, you're stagnant and you have no desire to move forward in that moment, which loses grit. So
Yes.
I say in that moment, there is no swag. And when you can have a trigger to think, my swag is off.
Oh,
What do I need to do to get that swag back? Maybe, just maybe, Joyce, just maybe, it reminds you of what your purpose is.
exactly. So true. So very true. Because what happens when we are triggered? We go into that flight or fight mode.
Right.
And physiologically, the blood is no longer going through your brain, it's going to your muscles, because you have that caveman brain. You've been wired to either fight or run for your life. No blood flow and oxygen is going up there. So you have to be able to calm yourself down and ask yourself, what do I believe in? Where do I go? And giving people those visuals, things that's easy for them to understand, to say, hey, I am not being myself. I'm not doing what I want to do. This is not the value system that I want to reflect. And you say when leaders are driven and they want to keep going and they feel that they have to keep going on,
Hate.
you can ask them this question is, so what happens if you're not here tomorrow? Is the organization going to stop? Wouldn't it be best for the organization if you take care of yourself so you can be here for another 10, 15 years?
Right.
Those kinds of questions help people to put things in perspective. We're not designed to work 24/7. It was never part of the created plan. We're supposed to take time to pause, take time to rest. And human brain is designed for categories. From the day we were born, our parents tell us, one, smile, hi. Everything is in categories. We learn to do the alphabets, we learn to count numbers, everything. So our brain is already wired for categories. So being able to show people these dimensions of their lives or these elements of their lives that keeps things together, it's very beneficial for them to be able to say, oh, yeah, I get it. Because it's simple.
Absolutely. And the other aspect of it all, too, is when we talk about leading self under pressure, right? Because that's where the resiliency comes in, right? Leading self, the inner dialogue of what you're dealing with, in addition to the external environments of what you're dealing with. And most people think resilience can entail pushing harder through the difficult environment that you're dealing with. Resilience is internal as well, because all of the doubts, the fears, the worries, that inner critic narrative that's consistently in your mind telling you're not good enough. And how do you navigate that so that you can continue to rise to be the better leader that you need to be? It comes down to having such frameworks to operate with, right? Whether it's the WIS, whether it's swag, it doesn't matter. You need a framework to operate with because, and I say this all the time, athletes, because I was a former athlete,
Ah, yes,
athletes have a framework that they operate by.
they
When
do.
the
They do.
pressure hits, right? When the pressure is at its highest peak, they fall back to a certain framework that they leverage to get through the pressure. And
Absolutely.
and I can go to the very basics of the framework. Pause, breathe, visualize, execute. That's the simplest of the simple.
And but how much more our lives would be better? And when people ask me what I do, I say I make resilience simple and easy for others to understand what it is, how to build it, how to map it, and how to continue to sustain it. Because we come here with a certain package of energy when you're born on this planet. And when it's utilized, you're done. So,
Right.
what are you doing with it? And we waste so many of our hours and years, especially in the workplace, thinking that we need to be a certain way or do a certain thing, that we're not recognizing that you have a purpose and you have the ability to create meaning in the workplace.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. But no, you're right though. You're 100% right. And we need that framework so that we can navigate self at the highest level possible. And as we get into our work environments, whatever that industry is, we're we're not taught how to do that.
No, I speak to brilliant leaders and I will see they change when I will have brilliant individuals and they move into leadership and all of a sudden they've changed. They've become different people. And I ask, do you understand what's just happened? Do you recognize how you have changed? And they're like, Joyce, what do you mean I've changed? And I was like, you have changed because of your environment. And that's not a bad thing. It's
Right.
understanding why you've changed and what you have changed to respond to. Then you're in
Right.
control. It's when we do things without understanding the what and the why. That's when we lose control. For
Yep.
instance, when I work with leaders who are moving up and they're saying, okay, I'm an emerging leader, I'm working with you, I want to move up to the next level. And now you're at the next level, but you realize, oh, the people you used to go for lunch with, now you have to supervise them and tell them they have to be back from lunch at the right time. The people who would come in late that were your colleagues and you would just say, yeah, you're late again. No, you're the leader. You have to call them on that. And so all these things plus your work, and now you've lost friendships. People who you used to be able to be comrades with. You're now their boss and they see you differently. They have a
Yep.
different expectation with you. And I remember, especially when I'm working with high level professionals, like when I'm working with scientists, engineers, those people who are from the science, the doctors, they don't teach them a lot of soft skills in their education. So they're just in the science and they lose out on the interpersonal skills and the conflict resolutions. When I work with them, I have to remind them that you're working with people and people have emotions and people like it when you make them feel good. And there's a way to do that. And there's a way not to do that. And it's almost like it's a mind switch for them. And they have to do that switch to understand, okay, now I'm a leader. Certain things are expected of me, but not everything. Because when I'm teaching them how to coach their employees, they're like, but Joyce, why would I ask them a question when I am the boss? I'm supposed to know the answer. I'm like,
That's the paradigm shift. That's the paradigm shift. We need to, yes. I know. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I like throw out the book that told you you're supposed to know everything. Throw out that book because there is no way you can know everything. If you're leading a team of 50 and you think that you are going to know everything that they don't know, it's impossible.
And that goes back to everything that we were talking about, the inner critic carrying this weight of this resilience that you have to have because of this overwhelming feelings that you naturally are carrying. And these leaders, most leaders feel that I individually have to know all the answers. And
Yes.
then that creates the internal weight that you're carrying.
Yeah, the emotional burden that they're carrying. And I call it monkey on your back because everybody brings their problem to you. I was like, there's only one of you. You need to stop that. There's only one of you. There's 50 of them. Put them in groups, put them in pods, put them together, ask them, work this out. Tell me your best answer. Let's brainstorm through it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm supposed to have the answer. I'm like, nope, that book is long drawn. You're reading an old textbook. You're not supposed to know the answer. You're supposed to work with them in a collaborative way as their leader and coach to help them come up with the answer. Because if you're not here next week, you have to have the confidence that they know how to find the answer. Because you're not supposed to be always be there supervising and babysitting your employees because that is too emotionally burdensome. And it's trying to get that message across is the tough part.
That's why we're so needed as coaches, right? Because we teach our clients how to wear the thought partner hat and the supervisor hat and the mentor hat and how to differentiate the differences between these various hats. And most leaders don't understand that. They show up only with the supervisor hat on, and that supervisor hat that they're wearing, they personally feel that they have to have all the answers and take the responsibility from the employees and put it on their shoulders. And when you're wearing, let's just say when you're wearing the thought partner hat, the coach's hat, you're putting the accountability back on the employee. Because us as coaches, when we wear that thought partner hat, we're asking these powerful questions that makes people think and self-discover what they already knew and give them the encouragement to take action. And we just show up to hold them accountable. There's power in that. There's so much power in that.
There is so much power in that. And there is this. You talk about the inner critic, but there's also the social expectation. They've been socialized to believe that as a leader, I hold all the answers. I know everything. And I'm like, wouldn't you like to duplicate yourself?
Yeah.
Able to duplicate yourself is empowering your people to think and empowering your people to take ownership, giving your people autonomy, helping them to be able to figure things out and work things out in groups or by themselves and use you as a reference, right? A reference to brainstorm. And basically telling leaders before, when an employee comes in with a problem, you need to change your response. Because now you need to teach your employees, before you come to me, I need to know, what have you tried? What are your thoughts? What do you think the best 3 options are? and which ones do you want us to explore? Because that changes everything. And it's
Right.
the habit now of sending employees back to go, can you do those and then come back? Let's discuss, go further. So learning how to do that and sending employees back to the, oh, but Joyce, that takes so much time. And I'm like, actually, that is not taking time. That is an investment. Do you put money away every month for saving in
Right.
your bank account? That's
Right.
exactly what you're doing here at work. And they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. And it goes back to the beginning of this conversation about resiliency, right? Because now when you are able, as a leader, being able to implement the strategy of what you were just describing, guess what that do to your leadership? It lightens it.
Of
It
course.
lightens it,
Of
right?
course. Now
Because
you can go farther.
at the end of the day, right, you have no control over the external environment. So you have to learn how to put your guardrails up, right? And the WISP system, the WISP that you shared with us, is a tangible system booklet, workbook that you can open up to help you learn how to put your guardrails up.
Yep.
And that's so much power in that. Or swag. I'm off of my swag. What do I
Yes.
need to do to get my swag back? And when you can lean in on that, you naturally put your guardrails up.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about. When we're talking about leading under pressure and needing that resiliency, you need a framework.
You do. You do. And a lot of people don't use frameworks in their lives. But imagine that you went to one of the big, you go to the airplane and you're going on a flight, and the pilot just says, well, we're just going to fly by air with the seat of our pants. You want a trained pilot on that plane. And the reason why you want that trained pilot is because he knows the system, he knows the processes, he's learned the contingency plans, and
Yep.
he knows how to implement. None of us are going to be comfortable going on an airplane with somebody who, I don't know what I'm doing, Joyce, but we're just going to wing it. You would
Yep.
be saying, let me
Yep.
off, right?
Yep.
And so we go to the doctors. We go to see the doctor. Why do we go to see the doctor? Because the doctor have a way of diagnosing and prescribing and following up. That's a framework. That's a system. We
Absolutely.
don't even understand that's how the world works. Why do you want teachers to be educated in the school system? Because there is a framework, there is curriculum. They know how to follow it, how to teach and educate our children with these curriculums. That's why the government looks
Man.
at providing curriculums. But we as individuals, we are thinking that we can just wing life. You can't.
Love this conversation. I'm just getting so excited because this is what I try to teach to the leaders that I work with. What's your framework? How do you manage under pressure when doubt is in your head and that inner critic is loud and it's telling you're not good enough, you should quit, blah, 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 whatever the narrative is. What's your process of dealing with that? You know what? I never thought about that. I just wait for it to go away. And how long does that take?
That could take all of your life. And why we're seeing, when we talk about resilience, we don't talk about resilience the way if somebody goes and research resilience is being able to bounce back. We believe that resilience is a currency. That's what WIS teaches. Resilience is a currency
Yes.
for life. You can measure it, you can map it, you can build it, you can save, you can expand, you can sustain it. It's a currency for living life. Most people think that suffering and persevering, that's what resilience is. No, no.
Oh, okay. So I got to ask you this. How do my audience get their hands on that currency? How do they find
Oh,
you?
they find me at interpersonalwellness.com, and or they can check me out at joyceaddison.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the social media platforms. I think I even have a TikTok. They can find me, but you need to understand what resilience is. You need to make it simple. You need to understand how to measure it to see where you are. And that's what my clients like. They get to see a quantifiable number. Oh, Joyce, I'm at 25, I'm at 30, I'm 100, I'm doing really well. Great. Where else do you need? You may be doing 100 in one dimension. What about the other Where are you at? How do we get better at this? This is efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiencies. We need to make our life efficient. And when employees are showing up, one of the things that the biggest challenge now in workplaces is that employees are showing up empty. No spiritual principles, no social principles, emotional. They're all over the place.
Because they're winging it, like you said. Everybody's winging it.
We have a complete resilience deficit. People don't know how to live life. They are clueless. They don't know how to live their life, their relationship, and they don't know how to deal with challenges in the workplace. So everything becomes a big old ugly fight and a miserable situation when they could just say, what is going on? How can we work through it? We teach 12 resilience currencies and competencies that you can use and you can map. And all of that is in our SaaS platform. We've taken I've written 7 books. We've taken all our books, all our tools, and we created a platform where you can easily go in and measure how well you're doing in each of the 9 dimensions. Get a quantifiable number, see your resilience index, what skill set you need to start working on, what areas of your life you need to do, what are your resilience triggers, and then how you can improve this month, this week, next month. And then if you need support with a coach, you can connect with a coach in the platform. It is so important for us to take the responsibility to build our lives intentionally. Too often, we just wait for things to happen. We cannot let life manage us. We need to manage life. We're created to manage life.
Mic drop. Boom. I appreciate you, man. I really do. I really do. Any final thoughts before we check out of here?
My final thought is if you're not happy with something that's going on in your life, it's a reason. Your brain, your subconscious is telling you something is off. You want to see what it is, map it. Find out what it is and get help to do it. Sometimes even just the awareness of knowing this is what the problem is, you may find that you're able to deal with it. But not knowing, that's where we fail. Ignorance is not bliss all the time. So let's increase our awareness. Let's understand what's happening, what's driving us in these 9 dimensions, because that's the only way you're going to become the leader you're determined to be, or you were designed to be. That's the only way you're going to be that partner that you're deserving to be. We've seen it happening in schools, in workplaces, in marriages. It's endemic.
Yeah.
We not living resilient lives, and it's affecting our mental health because we don't know how to manage life anymore. So it's become overwhelming for us. Let's stop that.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the Let's Think About It show and dropping knowledge and wisdom.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mo. It's been a pleasure.
Take care.
That's another rep in the inner arena. You didn't just listen, you leveled up your swag, self-awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. If this hit home, share it. Subscribe to the Let's Think About It podcast and lock in with me on YouTube at Swag Coaching. Until next time, stay aware, lead with your why, act in alignment, and keep your grit strong.
We going big, going big.